How to become a better comedian. Forward. Hint: in order to become a lousier, i.e., better comedian, you have to practice, practice, practice. And keep practicing your comedy all the time. And listen to the tapes you make in a recorder and that you write down on a 3x5 card. You can choose from physical comedy, stand-up comedy with a 3x5 card, or improvisation, making stuff up on the spot. If you want 5 minutes of comedy that's improvised, all you got to do is come up with 20 topics. 1 or 2 words, sentences at the most, or any kind of comedy that is preferably memorized. Committing your comedy to memory means that you really did something good. You can't screw it up unless, of course, you get drunk, high or distracted before the show happens. When somebody says something from the audience, run with it. Bad idea. Stay sober and have a drink of whatever beverage you like drinking after the show happens. That's your reward for doing a great or a lousy job. You can't be funny all the time. And if you're going to do comedy and talk about old people, do that in front of old people, not a bar full of mixed people. Make sure that before you decide to show up to a comedy club that you know the following. Comedy clubs and comedians who run shows discriminate against everybody, and find out what the rules are before you decide to just show up out of the blue. It pays to be prepared in advance of showing up and expecting to get put on stage. That just won't cut it. You have to practice your unfunny comedy any chance you get, and just because a joke worked in one club doesn't mean it is going to work in another club. As the night always changes, and so do the clientele that go to the comedy clubs all over the world. It's a revolving door of customers. Being a comedian is like a one-night stand. Every time you go, you're funny. Fun-loving lover is your audience. You're the one that's there to make them laugh. It's up to you to write or find jokes that you've rehearsed in front of people so you can know what does and doesn't work. Just because you think it's funny doesn't mean it is funny. There are a lot of different kinds of people that go out to hear comedians because they want laughter, not more pain in their life. Practicing your craft is like learning how to create a craft beer, to make a cabinet, or learning how to sing on key through a broken nose. Remember, your comedy career is not going to become a career in the finest sense of the words written here unless it's meant to be. You want to get paid for your comedy. Write a book, make an audiobook, or perform, and bring a hat or a sandpail with you when you perform your act and hand it out to any audience member, not the person running/ruining the show. Chances are that the person who is running the comedy show that night is being paid by the owner of the club, the bar, or the venue, or at the very least the person who is running the bar for the evening. It's best to focus on becoming an amateur comedian, not a professional stand-up comedian, as that implies you're being paid regularly, and you know that isn't happening anytime soon unless you follow what I just wrote a few sentences back about getting paid for your hard-earned writing. And potty mouth, i.e. diarrhea of the potty mouth, PMS, putting up with men's or women's shit. Coming up with a set list that you know works for you and not necessarily your audience is what you need to do. Not everybody is meant to succeed all the time. That's the beauty of being a stand-up comedian. You get to keep doing it when there are shows available, and practicing your craft is what's going to get you invited to other comedy clubs outside of where you live. When you fail miserably with your material, just remember that you can always break out the worst joke in the world. It's called the aristocrat's joke. Throw that at your audience in a really high-pitched voice. Make it sound like you had sex with your whole family in any way, shape, or form to bring your audience back to listen to you, and you will become a successful comedian. Make sure that you moan and groan, as the audience is guaranteed to laugh at that no matter what. Remember that after you've brought out this Little Shop of Horrors story/joke, that your audience is going to really want to kill your comedy set, so make sure that you get back to your set list and give it all you've got. That's the rule. Rule number 1. The secret to becoming a good comedian. Keep failing until you get what you want out of speaking to an audience and making them laugh when you do your comedy sets. Eventually, you will get really good at being a successful comedian. You can talk about anything you like: politics, art, music, money, people, mistakes you've made with your life. It's not that your material sucks. Did you ever think that you suck at being funny and that's why you want to become a successful comedian? You have a major case of low self-esteem. And the best thing you can do here is forget about having low self-esteem. Sublimate your darn ego and live your life anyways. That's why you are here now. Reading this book. You don't like this book or your life? It could be 50 times worse. Become a grateful person. Express gratitude and blessings all the time. Laugh all the time. Laugh 50 times a day. Have fun no matter what. Laugh at anything, the sacred and the profane. The only person responsible for making you funny is you. Sweet, lovable, wonderful you. You can always give this unfunny comedy book to somebody as a gift to somebody that you like or don't like. Did I say unfunny? You want people to laugh. The book is funny. It's loaded full of jokes. Then the book will end up in somebody else's hands and they'll read it and laugh their butt off. Keep sucking because you can only suck for so long and then you will become a good, successful comedian. At some point in the game. It's all a game. Making people laugh is no easy feat. If you can do that, you can do anything. You just have to keep trying until you succeed at being the funny person you know yourself to be. You're going to have good nights and bad nights as a stand-up comedian. Sometimes what you think is funny won't be funny at all. And you're going to completely bomb in front of your audience. That's the death of a comedian. All comedy clubs or amateur nights discriminate against comedians. This is the kind of world we live in. All things being unequal, equality is an ideal. Every successful comedian in the world has their good nights and their bad nights. That's the life of a stand-up comedian. Sit down. Make sure you're funny before you do it. Don't let that bother you. Rule number 2 about becoming a good comedian. If all else has failed and you know that you suck at being a comedian, you can always yell everything at your audience and then you're guaranteed to make your audience laugh. It won't matter what you're saying because the audience is going to think that you were pissed off at the world, and that isn't such a bad place to be in now, is it? It works for Lewis Black. He always sounds like he's having a bad life, like he's going to have a heart attack or something worse. You can also buy a book through Amazon or any other site about how to become a successful comedian in the world of comedians. As there are millions of starving comedians out there, the goal is to compete with yourself, not the comedians you are up against. Remember, you are just trying to make people laugh in a world full of haters, masturbators, and whatnot. People go out to hear comedians like you because they want laughter. You can also hang out with a group of comedians by taking a course in Comedy Miracles for $300, and you'll get 9 classes and get a certificate in comedy. Not such a bad idea when you want to pay to learn the secrets of becoming a funny, successful comedian in a cutthroat world full of mercenaries who don't give a rat's ass if you succeed or fail trying to be funny. It's all on you, and I believe in your ability to become funny. Break a leg if you must. Eventually, persistence will pay off, and you will break through to being a funny comedian. It's only a matter of time when that happens. Rule number 3, make sure that you laugh 50 times a day to keep up the dopamine levels you need in your body so that you can keep being a funny man or a funny woman. That's your laugh. Rule number 4, buy this book. Come up with a comedy set based on what I wrote for the jokes that appeal to you like a slippery banana, and use these jokes in your comedy act. How am I going to know that you stole my best material and performed it live? I won't. I give you complete permission to do this. Also, buying this book to use in your stand-up improvisation comedy act is a start. Rule number 4. If you want to talk dirty to people, you can do that, but don't do it unless you ask the person or people you are with if they want you to talk like that to them. As a rule, when you sign up for amateur comedy at a comedy club, you have to keep the swear words out of your act, as comedy clubs won't tell you this. The number 1 rule: we are a family-inclusive club and we discriminate against everybody. We're just not going to tell you that. It's on the door, but you have to read it. We discriminate against everybody. It's up to you to find out what the rules of the comedy club are before you get there and not show up unannounced. You won't be able to get on stage. It's everything is done up front and before you get there. And like people keep saying to you before you get on stage to do anything, good luck and break a leg. Comedy's all about being an adult and being funny. Work on your act. Give it a name. My name is Polly Pissy Pants, Loosey Goosey, Lucy Caboosey, My Cunt, or These Nuts. Polish that act until it shines brightly like you do. That's the best that you can do for you. Go now.